Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend he isn't entitled to my inheritance? My grandpa passed away a few months ago, and I inherited a little over $4 million from his estate. I had no idea he had that much money, and was honestly not expecting to receive anything, as I assumed it would all go to my mom. After I got over the initial shock, I took the opportunity to finally quit my job, which I really hated, as I don't have any outstanding debts, and can easily live off of $40,000 a year. I'm pretty introverted, and am more than happy to stay at home working on art/music/other interests and gaming. Ever since I inherited the money, my boyfriend has been pressuring me to cover all of the rent and utilities, about $1,200 a month, for our apartment, and start putting money away into a joint savings fund. I would be happy to do this if we were married, but we are not. We've only been dating for a year and a half, and I would prefer to keep our finances separate. Despite not working anymore, I still pay my half of the rent every month, and have started paying for a housekeeper to come in and clean a few times a week, so our apartment is nearly always spotless and looks great. I told my boyfriend he isn't entitled to my money, and he said I was being selfish for expecting him to still contribute to the rent, when I could easily afford to pay for the whole thing. Am I the a-hole? This is super important. With that kind of money in the bank, you desperately need to see an estate planning lawyer and get documented how your funds can be handled and protect against predatory friends and family. You don't say how old you are, but if you genuinely think you can live off the income alone, you may want to look into establishing some kind of trust that locks away the principal and pays out an income. You can set up rules with the trust on what sorts of expenses it will pay out additional funds for. For instance, education expenses, if you decide to go back to college, medical expenses, money to buy a primary residence. I would be very worried about a boyfriend who simply expects you to start covering all costs because you had a windfall. Prior to the inheritance, who earned the most? If it was him, did he expect to pay a greater than equal share? If yes, that at least shows a consistent expectation. If not, he is just trying to take advantage of you. It can be never work again money, assuming OP is smart. Assuming she doesn't touch the principal much in the first year, OP can invest, if conservatively, and easily see a 4% return year over year. I just ran a quick spreadsheet on it. If OP withdraws $50k for the rest of her life, for a $40k post-tax cash available, her principal will be up to $10 million at 30 years. If she then decides she wants some lifestyle creep, and decides to draw $100k for an $80k post-tax income, which is roughly equivalent to a salary around $120-130k in most areas, but she's only paying capital gains tax, she's still looking at $7.70 million on 30 years. If she decided that still wasn't enough, and started drawing $150k say at the 10Y mark, she's looking at $6.2 million principal in 30 years. And here's the one that hits closest to home. Based on my family budget, I take home roughly $80k. I have a $400k mortgage that cost $2,500 a month at 4.25% before I refinanced. So $30k a year, granted $8k of that is taxes and insurance. If OP went and bought a $400k home for cash and withdrew enough to give herself $50k of spending money after taxes, income, and property, and home ER1 as insurance, and adjusted for inflation at 2% growth, she would need to withdraw $75k the first year, which eventually becomes $104k/E by year 30th. The kicker, she still has $6.08 million in principal at that point. Basically, even if OP is 22 and a fresh-faced adult, unless she decides she wants to party like P. Diddy, this is very much never work again money, never mind if she has a higher tolerance for risk. Even based on my final example, up that growth rate to 5%, and she's sitting on 8.7 meters at year 30th. Up it to 6% and she's sitting on $12.4 million. Up it to 7%. The inflation adjusted market return rate over the last century hike, and she has $17.2 million at 30 years. Obviously, this is all caveated by the fact that she needs to live at the income level provided by an average white-collar professional's salary to keep from eating into the principal, but it's very much doable. Not the a-hole. Judgment aside, stop renting an apartment and buy a house yourself, not with a boyfriend. I know this isn't a finance subreddit, but continuing to rent when you could buy property instead is a huge mistake. Also, you say you can live off of $40,000 a year, which I assume is you dividing the $4 million by 100 for a safety margin. If you were to invest your money instead and take the safe withdrawal standard of 4%, you're looking closer to $160,000 a year of passive income while preserving the $4 million investment. I'm sorry, but every owns an a-hole. Whoa boy, I'll get some hate for this. A year and a half isn't that long. It really can be an awkward stage in any relationship, been there myself. But having been in a really long-term relationship, at some point you have to decide if you're really in it for the long run. He's definitely the asshole here for pressuring you. It's not a decision that needs to be made now. You're still adjusting and getting comfortable with how you want to spend your time. But you're the a-hole because you're thinking about yourself. Reddit and specifically the wider commentators in r/AmItheA hole have this weird view of social and relationship norms that don't actually reflect the real world. Yes, it's your money to do with what you want. Yes, he isn't entitled to it. Yes, legally he can't really do anything. But that's not how love really works. You need to think about what the money you have can do to better both of your lives and your relationship. Do you want kids? Do you want to buy a house together? Do you want to travel together? Do you have dreams that you have and want to realize together as a couple? It sounds like you've made the unilateral decision to quit your old life for a new one. To explore yourself and spend all of your time doing things that make you happy, which is great and fantastic. But you should have had, especially in a relationship you're committed to, a serious discussion about what you should do moving forward. Is he in a job he loves? Would the money from the rent relieve pressure on him, allow him to focus on other areas that allow him to be a better partner, in turn adding to your relationship? Relationships are harder, I think, as they grow longer. They start to transition from that honeymoon phase of love and lust to more give and take, sacrifice, and bettering each other. BQs, this is the one person *YO you have decided to invest in. You have created this post for validation of your decision, BQs. I think you know that you're ignoring a lot of things that are deeper and more real than a Reddit post could ever solve. I'm in a similar position as OP, but have handled it way differently as to not become the a-hole. This post struck a chord in me. I'm currently having some health issues, so I have been unemployed for over 6 months. I inherited money from my dad, and I'm using it to support myself. My boyfriend works hard, 5 days a week as a bartender, and after a while, I could feel the resentment building up. To help our situation, I'm paying 2/3 of the rent to take the pressure off of him. I also do most of the housework and shopping. It makes me feel like I'm helping out. Most importantly, I communicate about the future, that I plan to start looking for work soon, and that this isn't forever. I couldn't stand it if I played video games all day while my partner worked for the rest of our lives. How boring would life be, and how much would he resent her? Op needs to start thinking about what she would like to do, like volunteering, having kids, etc., and share that with her BF, so they have a game plan. It's fine to chill out for a few months, but then you gotta get back to life in some way. From this post, it seems like Op isn't serious about her partner and is not thinking about their future, but just hers. If this is your life partner, you would want to make them happy. An investment in them is an investment in you and your future together. I wish my BF would let me help him even more to go back to school or buy a new car, but he's too independent for that. I think Op needs to think hard about her relationship and what she wants out of life. I mean, if the rent thing is such an important issue, does it have to be split 50-50? $1,200 a month to someone working full-time is a hell of a lot more of a burden than $1,200 a month to someone who is probably earning 6 times that much each month just in interest. Maybe split it 30-70 or something proportional to ability to pay. OP has a gross definition of fairness, especially in a 1.5 year long relationship. If I were him, I'd walk. Op certainly doesn't seem ready for marriage anytime soon. Thanks for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe for more videos. See you all later.